Hello and good morning to every one of you joining today's Tech Day Pakistan conference. I'm delighted to be part of this conference for the first time, which is hosted by a good friend, Shakir Majid Khan, who is a Microsoft MVP in Business Applications category. My name is Abiola David. I am a Microsoft Excel MVP, and in today's presentation, I'm going to be covering the topic from zero to hero with lookup family functions. This conference is such an amazing one because we have so many speakers who are top experts in their field. Okay, so you have a lot of things to learn from all the speakers. So I'm going to encourage you all to watch all the videos from all the speakers, follow them on different platforms such as LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Twitter, and other social handles. So without much talking, let's dive into my presentation for every one of you this morning. Now, in this worksheet, I have 4 columns. The first column is account managers column, the month of January, February to March. Now, I'm going to be showing you some series of lookup family functions, including the new filter function. Now, you can see in column A, we have the account manager. Now, in cell G3, I have this cell head. I want to return the total sales for the account manager named Phoebe Harding for the month of March. So how do I do that? And I can use all these arrays of functions to do that. Now let's start with the traditional VLOOKUP. As you know, VLOOKUP stands for vertical lookup. So I'm going to type in equal sign and type in the function name. Now the function looks for a value in the leftmost column of the table and then returns a value in the same row from the column you specified. Now I'm going to press the tab key. Now lookup requires the lookup value. Now the lookup value is this value in cell F3. I'm going to put in a comma. Now the table array where this lookup value can be found is this entire list of selection that is cell F3 to D16. Then I'm going to put in a comma. Now the column index number is the column that we actually want to point to. I want to point to, this is column index number 1, 2, 3, 4. So since we are interested in the month of March, which is in the 4th column, I'm going to manually type in 4 here. Then I can put in a comma, and then we have the range lookup to be specified. Now, because we are interested in the exact value for the account manager for the month of March, I'm going to use the false. Now, in computing, you can use 0 to denote false or use 1 to denote true. So I'm going to show you all the examples in this presentation. Now, in this case, I'm going to put in 0 and close the bracket. I can control enter. You can see that returned 978. Now let's check it out. This is Phoebe Harding. I can see that is actually correct. Now let's do the same thing using another lookup family function called the XLOOKUP function, which is more superior to the old VLOOKUP, which was released in 1987, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm going to come here, equal sign. I'm going to type in XLOOKUP function. Now the XLOOKUP searches a range or an array for a match and returns the corresponding item from a second range or array. Now I'm going to press the tab key. Just like VLOOKUP, the XLOOKUP requires a lookup value. So I'm going to look up this value, comma. Now I need to specify where this lookup value can be found, which of the list, which of the array. Now it can be found in this list here. So I select A3 to A16, put in a comma. Now I want to return what? I want to return for the corresponding value for the month of March. So I select D3 to D16. Now the if not found, match mode, and the search mode, which are in square brackets, are optional arguments, so we can skip that. So I'm going to close this bracket for now, and I can control enter. You can see we achieve the same result. That's amazing. Now there is another function called the index match function. So let's see how to use that index. So I'm going to type in the function name. Now I need to specify. Let's see what it does. It returns a value or reference of the cell at the intersection of a particular row and column in a given range. So I'm going to press the tab key. Now it requires an array, that is what we intend to return based on the row number input value that we're going to supply. So I want to return the exact value for the month of March. So I'm going to put in a comma. So I'm going to type in match function for the row. So I need to provide the lookup value. Now I want to look up this value, comma. I want to look it up in this list. Okay, of course, I need to specify the exact match type, which is 0. So I can close the match and I can close the index. I can control enter, and of course, I can see that returned the same results, which is amazing. Now let's do the same thing for the new filter function. So I'm going to type in filter. Now the filter simply filter a range or an array. So I'm going to press the tab key, and of course we need to provide what the array is. Now the array is going to be this value. I'm going to put in a comma. Now the include argument, it's going to be, I want to check this value or this list of account manager. Are you equal to Phoebe Hardy in cell F15? I can close the filter. I can control enter, and that returned the same result. You can see we have 978 all through. That's amazing. Now I'm going to skip this for now. Let's come to the exact and the approximate match type. Now we've seen one example of how to use the exact match type here, okay, which we use 0. So I'm going to come in. Now let's just do one more exact and then we move to approximate match type. So in here, you can see I have this list of product 1 to 20, and I have these regions, and of course the corresponding prices. Now, I want to see how we can return the region for the selected products using the XLOOKUP, the VLOOKUP, XLOOKUP, filter, and the index match function. So again, in cell F5, I'm going to type in VLOOKUP. Okay, so the lookup value will be the product for in cell E5. Put in a comma. Now the table array is this entire table here. Now since I'm not interested in the product, I'm going to reduce it to region, comma, and that's going to be A4 to B23. And of course the column index number. Now this is going to be the column index number 1, and this is going to be the column index number 2. So we are interested in column index number 2. I'm going to type in 2. And of course, we want the exact match type. Now, in this case, you can say I'm using false to represent 0. Okay, so I can close the parentheses and control enter, and that returned region, and that is in fact accurate. Can you see region? East region, rather, it returned the east region. So let's do the same thing for the XLOOKUP. So I'm going to type in XLOOKUP. So I want to look up this value, comma. Now the lookup array is going to be this list. Okay, I'm putting a comma, and I want to return the corresponding value based on the lookup array and the lookup value. So I'm going to select B4. So this is the lookup value, E9, and of course the lookup array is A4 to E23, and the return array is B4 to B23. Again, I can close the bracket and control enter, and that returned east region for the product number 4. Okay, let's say I want to change to product number 5, and I click enter. You can see it returned north, which is amazing. Now let's do the same thing for the filter function. So filter, now I want to return this, the region. So I select this as the array, put in a comma. Now the include, I want to check all this many side of products. Are you equal to the product number 4, product 4 in cell F13? Close the bracket, control enter. It returned east region for the product number 4. And then we can use the index match, which I love so much, before the XLOOKUP and the filter function were released in some few years ago. Now I want to return this array. Okay, put in a comma. Now for the row number argument, I'm going to type in the match function, and I want to look up this value, comma. I want to look up, oops, excuse me. Now I want to actually return the region, not the price. So that's going to be B4 to B23, and I can continue here. So the lookup values I want to look up in this lookup array based on this lookup value in cell E18. I'm going to put in a comma, and of course we want the exact match type. I can close the match function, close the index, control enter, and that returned east region. So these are basically how we can perform exact match type using all these arrays of lookup family functions. Now let's see how we can perform the approximate match type. Now let's see this scenario. Now let's see we have these income levels. So this is 0, £2,500, 5,000 pounds, £8,900, and £16,400. Now, let's say if you are earning, between 0 and let's say 2,499, you're going to be paying 0, tax. But if you are earning from 2,500 to 4,999, you're going to be paying £34, and so on and so forth. So let's say someone is earning £16,400, or you're even earning £20,400, you're going to be paying £64 as the tax. Now, let's say there is someone earning this 6,123 income. However, we do not have the exact income amount in this list of income ranges. Now, let's see, how do we calculate the tax that this person earning 6,123 pounds is earning? Now, in this case, I'm going to use the VLOOKUP once again. Now, the lookup value will be this value in cell N4, the income that is being earned, comma, and of course, I want to select this table array K4 to L8, put in a comma. Now, the column index number, since we are interested in returning the tax, I'm going to type in 2, which is this column index number 2 here, put in a comma. Now, in this case, I'm going to specify the approximate. Now, it's going to approximate by the income level. So I'm going to put in 1 or type in true. I can close the bracket and control enter. Now, this returned £42 as the income, based on the income of 6,123. Now, let me just explain how this thing works. Now, if you look at this section, you can see we have 2,005 and next we have 5,000. Okay, now as the VLOOKUP formula is running through this section, it's going down, and once it's able to say 8,900, it's jumped back to the 5,000, and then it's returned this £42 as the tax to be paid by this 6,123 income level. Now, let's do the same thing for the XLOOKUP. So I'm going to type in =XLOOKUP. Now, I want to look up this value again, and of course we have to choose the lookup array here. Now, it's a bit different from the VLOOKUP. Okay, just choose this list, comma, and of course the return array is going to be this list. Now, let's jump to this match mode of the XLOOKUP function. Now, traditionally, the XLOOKUP performs the exact match, which is the limitation that VLOOKUP function has. VLOOKUP by default performs approximate match type, but XLOOKUP performs exact match type. Now, this is not a case of exact match type. We actually need an approximate. So I'm going to choose this exact match or next smaller item. So that's going to be -1, and that's going to give us the approximate match type. Now, the search mode is optional, and I'm going to close this bracket and control enter, and that's amazing. It returned £42 as the tax to be paid. Now, let's do the same thing for the index function. Now, index, so we need to provide the array that we want to return. We want to return this tax, comma. Now, the row number argument, I'm going to type in the match function, and I want to match this value, comma, in this list here. Okay, comma. Now, in this case, now I'm going to actually use the less than, okay, and that's what's going to give us the approximate match type. Press the tab key on 1, close the match, close the index, control enter, and that returned 42. That's amazing. You can see we've been able to use 3 functions and we achieve the same results. So this is the beauty of using lookup family functions to perform different operations in Excel. Now, let's move to more approximate match type. Now, let's see this scenario. We have this account manager's name, the total sales generated by each of the account manager, and of course we can see the range of the total sales. It is either 2,000, 6,000, and 9,000. Now, for every account manager whose total sales is within this range is less than 2,000 to 5,999, the commission rate due is £4 and 4%. Now, for all the total sales that is from 6,000 to 8,999, it's going to be 8.8, and so on and so forth. Now, I'm going to see how we can return the corresponding commission rate based on the total sales in column B. Now, I'm going to perform the VLOOKUP XLOOKUP and the index match. So let's see, equal sign VLOOKUP. So the lookup value will be this value, comma, and of course the table that is going to be this table in here. And of course, because we're going to copy the formula, that I'm going to F4 key to make it absolute cell reference, comma. Now, the column index number that we want to return this column index number 2, type in 2, comma. And now, this is also an approximate match type because we do not have the exact total sales here. These are just different numbers that are in between all this value here. So I'm going to put in 1, or I can even skip it entirely because by default the VLOOKUP performs exact match type. So I can control enter, and you can see this account manager Abiola David, total sales is 9,641, and of course because 9,641 is greater than 9,000, this account manager is due to receive commission of 8.3%. So I can copy the formula down, and let's do the same thing for the XLOOKUP, equal sign XLOOKUP, look up this value, comma, and of course I want to select this lookup array, comma, and want to return this list here. And of course I need to make it to be absolute cell reference because we're going to copy the formula down, comma, and if not found I skip that. And for the match mode I want the exact, which is minus or the smallest, so I can close the bracket. For the XLOOKUP, control enter, you can see we have the same value. I can copy the formula down. Now let's do the same thing for the index. So what I want to return is this commission rate. I'm going to F4 key to make it absolute, comma. For the row number argument, I'm going to type in the match function, and what I want to look up for this value, comma, within this list. I'm going to F4 key this, comma, and of course we want the less than, close the bracket for the match, close for the index, control enter, and that's amazing. So you can see we achieved the same result for the 3 different functions. Okay, now let's just take the VLOOKUP or any one of them and calculate the commission, and that's going to be this total sales multiplied by the percentage of the commission rate. Click enter, you can see copy the formula down. Okay, you can see, so this is the commission due to each of this account manager based on the total sales generated. I can come here, you can do alt equal sign, which is the auto sum, control enter, and you can see the total commission paid by the company is £8,466.64. So this is basically how you can perform another type of approximate match. Move to the next example, which is looking up all the rows. So I'm going to come here. Now I have this list of details, information of customers. You can say customer name, customer type, account manager's name, product name, and the total sales for each of the items. Now in cell G2, I've got what is called a drop-down list data validation, so I can select whatever names I want from here. Okay, let's choose Laura Callahan. Now let's say I want to return all the rows or the value for Laura Callahan. I'm going to use the VLOOKUP here again. VLOOKUP. Now I need to provide the lookup value, so I can select this value, comma. Now the table is going to be this entire table without the headings. Control Shift right down arrow key, Control backspace to jump up, comma. Now the column index number is what I'm going to use, what is called an array constant. Now I'm going to use curly brackets, or some people call it curly braces. So now inside the curly brackets, I'm going to specify the columns that I want. Now this is going to be the column index number 1. So I want to start from 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I'm going to type in 2, 3, 4, and 5. Close the curly bracket, and I can put in a comma. And of course, we want an exact match type. I can use false. I can use 0. I can close the bracket. I want to control enter. That's amazing. You can see it will return all the values, all the rows for customer named Laura Callahan. Now let's say I want to change to Andrew Fuller, which is in here. You can see we have the same thing. All right, so let's jump to the next example, which is how to use partial VLOOKUP. Now let's say this scenario. In column A, we've got all this list of items. Now in each of the cell, we have the item name to the left side, which are laptop, smart TV, iPhone, and furniture. Now in between, we have what is called the order ID, and of course we have to the right the SKU. Now, what we want to do is we want to use the VLOOKUP function in this entire example, and with the combination of string function or text functions such as the left find, mid and find, and the right and find to populate the prices for all these items. So let's do that quickly. Now I'm going to come here, I'm going to type in equal sign. Now let's first and foremost use the left and the find function to extract the names of the item or the product name. So I'm going to type in left, and of course the text is going to be this value in cell A2, put in a comma. Now for the numchar, that is the number of characters, I'm going to use the find function. Now you can see in this text we have what is called a pipe. Now the pipe is what separates the items from the order ID and the SKU. So I want to find the text pipe. Now I'm going to use double quote with a pipe in between, close the bracket. Now within this same text in cell A2, close the bracket. Now when I close the bracket for now and I click enter, you can see I'm almost done extracting the laptop. Now what I'm going to come to the formula, open it up, and after the find I'm going to use -1 to remove the pipe. You can see I've been able to extract the laptop. When I copy down, I've been able to extract wonderfully. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to copy this, or I'm going to cut it, Control X. Now I'm going to use that inside the VLOOKUP. Now that's going to be my lookup value, Control V, comma. Now the table is going to be this table array is going to be this one here. I'm going to F4 key to make it absolute, because we're going to copy the formula down, and of course put in a comma for the column index number. I want to get the price, which is in number 2. So I'm going to type in 2, comma, and we want the exact match type. Close the bracket, Control Enter, and that's amazing. You can see we've been able to return the prices. Control Shift 4, and that applies the currency in my local machine. You can see it returned 1,711 for laptop, 1,557 for smartphone, and so on and so forth. Now let's see how to use the mid and the find function here. From here, let's extract the, now in this all right, so now let's do almost the same thing using the item ID. Okay, we have the item ID in it, so we're going to use the mid and the find function. Now the item ID are in the very middle, so we're going to use the mid function. So let's start equal sign mid. Now this is going to be the text. I'm going to put in a comma. Now I'm going to use the find function, press the tab key, and I want to find the single pipe that separates the list. So in double quotes, single pipe in between, I close that, comma. Now within the same text in cell A9, close the bracket. Now I'm going to put in +1, and I can put in a comma. So the numchar is going to be 4 because the item is actually 4 in the middle, the item ID. You can see there are 4 all through. So I'm going to just put in 4, close the bracket, click enter, and you can see when I copy this one down, we've been able to extract the item ID in the middle, but this is treated as a string. Now I'm going to double click. I actually want to use it as number, so I'm going to use what is called double negative to coerce that to be returned as a number, and that's amazing. So you can see that it is now to the left of the right of the cells. Okay, so I'm going to copy this entire block of code, Control X, and I'm going to use the VLOOKUP function. Now that's going to be the lookup value, put in a comma. Now the table array is going to be the same thing here. I'm going to F4 key to make it absolute, comma, and we want to point to column index number 2, type in 2, and we want 0, which is exact match. I believe you remember. Control Enter, and I can copy this down, and that's amazing. Control Shift 4. So we've been able to extract the prices using the item ID in the very middle. Now let's do the same thing for the SKU. Okay, the SKU is to the right. Now let's count how many characters we have in the SKU and the numbers. SKU is 3 plus the 4 numbers, so that makes 7. Okay, so I'm going to come here and type in write function. So it's going to be the text, comma, and the number of characters I want to extract is 7. Control enter, and I copy this one down. So I can come here, I can cut this, Control X, use it inside the VLOOKUP, Control V, comma, and this is going to be the table array, F4 key, comma, and we want 0. Oh, excuse me, and I want to point to 2, column index number 2, put in a comma, and I want 0 or false. Control enter, and that's amazing. Control Shift 4. So you can see we've been able to use the VLOOKUP function with the left find, mid find, and the right find functions. That's amazing. So let me just move to the next. I'm going to do the same thing here, but we're going to use the XLOOKUP function. Now, in order to speed things up, I'm going to come here. I'm just going to copy this in memory. Okay, so I'm going to Control C, escape, and I come here. Now we're going to use the XLOOKUP function. Okay, equal sign XLOOKUP. I'm going to paste it. It still remains the same. Okay, now the lookup array is going to be this item. We're not going to be selecting the two at the same time, just like the table array in VLOOKUP, but you have to select this list first, comma, and the return array, you select this, and of course close the bracket, and don't forget to apply the F4 key to make it absolute. Control F4 key. Oops. Okay, F4 key, and that is made absolute. Control enter. You can see that's amazing. It works magic. Now let's do the same thing here. I'm going to come here. I'm going to copy this mid, open it up, Control C, escape. I can come to the XLOOKUP, equal sign XLOOKUP, Control V, comma, and this is going to be the lookup array, comma, and this is going to be the return array, F4 key to make it absolute, and Control enter, Control enter. Excel will close the bracket for me, though it's not a good practice, but I just want to speed things up. You can see we have the same solution. Now let me come here again. I'm going to borrow this lookup value, Control C, escape, come here, equal sign XLOOKUP, Control V, comma, and it's going to be the lookup array, and it's going to be the return array, and I'm going to make it F4 key to make it absolute. Control enter twice, and of course Excel completed the whole thing for me. So you can see we've been able to use the VLOOKUP function and the XLOOKUP. Now let's see how do we do the same thing in the index match. I'm going to copy the same thing here. I'm going to Control C, escape, and come here. Now I'm going to type in the index function here. Now the first thing I need to do here is to give the value for exactly what I want to return, which is the array. So I want to return the price, comma. Now I'm going to type in for the row number argument. I'm going to type in match. So now I'm going to paste what I copied into the match lookup value here. Control V, comma, and the list I want to check it out is this list here. And of course I must not forget to apply F4 key to this section, and of course I have to apply F4 key here, and then come right here, comma, we want the exact match, 0, close, Control enter. That's beautiful. So it's actually very good if you know how all this thing works. Control Shift 4, and let's also repeat almost the same thing here. I'm going to come here. I'm just going to borrow this to speed things up. Control C, escape. I come to the index match. I come here, the equal sign index, and I want to return these prices here. I'm going to F4 key to make it absolute, comma, and for the row number argument, I'm going to type in match, and I have to paste the value I copied as the lookup value, comma, and the lookup array is going to be this list here, F4 key to make it absolute, comma, and we want exact match, close the match, close the index, Control enter, and of course I can copy the formula down. That's amazing. Control Shift 4, that's amazing. So I'm going to come here and let's copy this write function, Control C, escape. I come to the index match. I come here, I type in the index, and I give this list F4 key to make it absolute, comma. I'm going to type in the match function. Match. Oh, excuse me. I have to type in match. and I have to paste here, comma, and this is going to be the lookup array, F for key to make it absolute, comma, exact, match, close, control, enter. I can copy the formula, I can apply the currency. That's amazing. So you can see that we achieved the same result using the XLOOKUP, VLOOKUP, and the index match. Now, let's see how to do the same thing using the new filter function. So just copy the VLOOKUP and the left and define formula here. I'm going to come here. I'm going to Control C. I'm going to escape, come to filter. Now, in here, I'm going to type in the equal sign filter function. Now, the array is exactly what I want to return this list. I'm going to F4 key to make it absolute, comma. Now, the include arguments is going to be this value. I want to check the value I pasted here. I copied whether it is equal to the value here. I'm going to make this to be absolute. I can close the brackets, control enter, and that works magic. That is absolutely awesome. You can see we use the include arguments here. I can copy the formula down. I can Control Shift 4 to make it in currency of my specified region. Okay, and let's come to the VLOOKUP. I'm going to copy this mid and find. Come here, lookup value, Control C, press escape. I come to the filter page here. I'm going to type in filter and I want to return this list. Don't forget F4 key to make it absolute, comma, and I want to check this list. Excuse me, I have to paste this one here. Control V, are you equal to these items here? Close the bracket, control enter, copy the formula down, Control Shift 4. Oh, excuse me, I forgot to lock. All right, so I'm going to come here. I have to apply F4 key here. F4 key, control enter, and I can copy the formula down, and that does the magic. Amazing. Now let me come here and round this off. I'm going to copy this, Control C, escape. I come to the partial filter. I can type in the filter function. Now the array is going to be this list, comma, and of course the include argument will be the value I copied, I paste. I want to check whether it is equal to this value. F4 key, don't forget, and of course F4 key in it. Click enter, and you can see that is amazing. So you can see there are so many ways in which you can perform the same operation in Excel based on your knowledge of how to use all these functions and functionalities. Now let's see the final one here. So let's say we have this scenario of account manager's name here, and of course the products here, laptop, smart TV, iPhone, and furnitures. Now we want to return the lookup at the intersection. Okay, so we want to return the intersection of these lookups. Now let's start with the VLOOKUP. I'm going to type in VLOOKUP. Now for the lookup value, I want to look up this value. I want to put in a comma. Now the table array is going to be this entire table here, comma. Now the column index number is what I'm going to use a function called a match function, and I want to look up this value inside the match, comma, and I want to check this entire list here, comma, and of course we want the exact match, close the VLOOKUP, control enter, and that returned 128 as the price. Now let's check it out. Charlie, Adams, and iPhone. This is iPhone column, this is Charlie Adams. Yeah, okay, let's check it out. Okay, iPhone. Okay, actually I have to adjust this formula here. Now this has to be E1. Click enter. Now it's actually 649. Now this is iPhone here, and this is Charlie, Adam. So you can see the intersection, the value at the intersection is 649, which is accurate. Now I'm going to come here and do the same thing using the XLOOKUP function. So the value for the XLOOKUP value want to look is this value here, comma. I want to check this list in here. Okay, put in a comma, and the return array, I'm going to deploy the second XLOOKUP, which means I'm nesting XLOOKUP inside XLOOKUP. Now the lookup value will be this value here, comma, and I have to provide this list here at the top, comma, and the return array is going to be all these values based on the two lookups. Close the bracket, control enter. Oh, this return an error, and now that's fine. Now I'm going to just reduce it to F1, and you can see that gave us the accurate number 649 using the XLOOKUP and the VLOOKUP. Now let's do the same thing for the index match equal sign index function. Now I want to return this range of array, put in a comma. Now for the row number argument, I'm going to type in the matched function. Now the lookup value will be this. Let's do the account manager first, comma M15, and I want to look up in this lookup array, put in a comma. I want an exact match. I can close this match for the row number argument, comma. Now for the column, I'm going to type in another match. So I want to look up this value, put in a comma. That is the iPhone. I want to check this list in at the top, put in a comma, exact match, close the match, and close the index function and control enter, and that returned 4649 beautifully, just like the VLOOKUP, XLOOKUP, and of course the index. Now let's say I want to change to corner rule events. You can see the formula dynamically updates. That's amazing. Let's check for laptop. Let's do the same thing, corner rule events, and let's change the items to laptop. Okay, and let's do the same thing, corner rule events, and let's change the item to laptop. You can see excuse me, this is kind of relevant, not Charlie Adams. Okay, you can see that we have the same thing. So this is basically how we can use the lookup family functions to move from 0 to hero. I hope you enjoyed this presentation, and as I said, I wish you all the best, and please create time to look at the presentation of other speakers. And if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, just search for my name, Abiola David, and I'll be looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you and have a wonderful evening. Bye bye.